So that's what I would do to try and make it a much easier pedestrian experience out of the train into the central city. If we don't have that, then residents aren't going to come to the city at all. It's just not an option because it's too difficult and not appealing to people who might want to buy an apartment or a house in and around the area.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chris.
Cool.
Yep. Just going to change the order a bit and go to straight to Iona. I think she's busy somewhere. Probably. No?
Do you want to just give it a break on local government and we'll go back to central government?
Yeah. We've even got Tim McIndoe, the Associate Minister's got a statement up really.
Thank you.
Thank you, Iona.
Tēnā koutou katoa, and look, a big thanks from me for inviting me to speak and to this important summit. Walking is the most important form of transport, so it's fantastic to see so many of you here. And thank you for all the amazing work that you do in this space. I just want to put in an apology from Councillor Sarah Free and Councillor Kelly Freeman. Unfortunately, they weren't able to come. They were our transport portfolio leaders, but they're very interested in this area. And of course, I'd like to acknowledge my council colleague, Peter Gilbert, who is also very sympathetic to this area, and I consider a great colleague, unless we start talking about Paxters, but we'll get onto that in a minute. So, look, as is my custom, I actually proudly do not hold a driver's licence. I'm considered crank in some quarters, but I do not drive. And so I walked my children to school this morning, negotiating with my 8-year-old. Can I go to walk to school? It's less than 10 minutes, once we cross this big road in Mount Victoria. And I let him go. And I've been thinking about that because by the time I was 7, I was walking all around the central city by myself, and I grew up in Te Aro, so it wasn't that there was no traffic. There was a lot of traffic, and yet I had the freedom of the city. My parents trusted me. Usually the goal was the public library or toy shops, but that was what I wanted to do, and I had the freedom to do it. And yet I now, as an adult, will not allow my son that same freedom. It will take a few more years, even though I believe that children should be able to have that freedom. And freedom should be not just for adults and cars, but for children as well. And I've been thinking about, I've just been reading a book about how to be bored. We do live in a culture which is about instant gratification, about speed, rather than taking a more contemplative approach to life. And walking, of course, is a very active way to achieve that. Reading is also, but walking is one of the most important ways that you can achieve some insight, and that's what we need, not just for little digital connection. I've been involved in transport debates now for nearly 20 years, and it is the most difficult issue in the city. I started off my political career, so to speak, as an anti-roading activist. And the same arguments that we had 20 years ago are the same arguments that we continue to have. There's been a lot of progress, but still much needs to be done. But we've done, of course, many good things in Wellington, and it is a bit of a success story around Australasia. We have high rates of public transport use and walking, and we have a great transport hierarchy where we actually, in our policy documents, put walking and cycling at the top. The problem is, of course, as you will well know, is that when you look at the funding hierarchy, it's directly an inverse. And of course I acknowledge some of the work that has been done by the government. They have pumped money into cycleways, but nevertheless it doesn't change the fundamental equation. We're having some interesting discussions through Let's Get Welly Moving, so I was interested to hear Chris talk about how the decision had been made on RONs. Actually that hasn't been made, and so we are starting to at least change some of that conversation. I've said constantly, don't just talk about this as a transport project, but as an urban development opportunity. Acknowledging the cyclists in the room, because I will never get on a bike. It's fantastic though to support the amazing cycleway program that we are trying to roll out. It's really difficult, but I do not see walking and cycling as being fundamentally in competition. They're both necessary. And also, of course, we've done a lot of good work around making our streets more walkable and more pleasant. We've done laneway developments, because that's transport or walking is not just about transport. We've always got to remember that. It is about the spaces that we can live, play and work in. So I've got a manifesto, and I am speaking as an individual council because it's not council policy, because I actually think we need to be radical. We live in a time of dangerous climate change. We live in a time where we are in some ways more unhealthy than we ever have been. And we live in a city where and in a country where there is gross inequality. So there's a few things that we need to do. We need to act like we mean it on the transport hierarchy. We need to actually put cycling and walking first up, not just talk about it. And we need to fund it. And I would say, when you're planning a transport system, you plan for the child, you plan for the frail older person, you plan for the people with disabilities who may face barriers. You do not plan for people such as myself at this stage in my life, because I am able-bodied and I generally can navigate our city. But many people cannot, and in fact, of course, we will probably all get there at some point where it will be a challenge. We must continue our push towards a low-carbon future. If we do not make walking central to our transport system, we will not achieve that in a city environment. It is impossible. And of course, we must have a healthy, move towards a much healthier lifestyle. Julian talked about choice. Well, actually, I'd like to challenge that. Yes, we do need choice at a very superficial level, but choice is the ideology that says that there are no consequences to anyone else or to future generations. There's too much choice, and when we talk about multimodal models of transport, which sound okay in principle, what we still see is a dominance towards car driving and not an equality or even a preference to more sustainable modes which will protect future generations. And so I don't actually subscribe to that. While we of course don't want to live in a dictatorship, if we are going to save our planet, if we're going to make sure that there is a future for our children, we are going to have to adopt more sustainable ways of being. Just the last point on this one is that NZTA is doing some good work, and of course it's a very large organisation with a diverse group of people. But its dominant mode of thinking is about building roads, still about building roads. It's not just a government that's directing them, they do have enthusiastic support from their officials. And what we need the New Zealand Transport Agency to do is to actually act like it should do, which is transport in all its forms. And we will hope to see some action there. So my view is that we should be aiming towards a beautiful city, more kids walking to school, cars to be the least dominant mode. Walking should be the top. We need to see our emissions cut drastically. And we also, which hasn't been talked about, want to see high economic activity, but good economic activity from people going and doing more shopping, good retail spending. So I do like doing that some myself. Rather than just saying you need car parking and you need these rather desolate city spaces. There is, and just to finish off, there's some practical things that we can do. Apart from anything, we need to lobby for the funding and secure it from government. And if we can't, well, maybe we just need to fund some of these transport improvements ourselves. It's after all a question of priorities. We need to stop motorway building. This is the biggest obstacle to getting a sustainable city, and we need options like electric buses and light rail instead. We need to actually close roads down. We've seen great examples around the world. Let's make it for pedestrians, let's make it for housing, let's make it for business. We need low speeds. We lost one vote a couple of years ago to get a 30k speed limit through the CBD. We need to go further than that. 30k right through the CBD, 30 to 40 around all of the suburbs, and then maybe some 50k road space, but not too much of that. We need to phase out free weekend parking. As one of my colleagues said, there's no such thing as free. And if that can't be done, then there should at least be some subsidised and free bus transport at the weekend, because of course that is actually when we are moving. It is not just when we go to work. A higher parking charge is also a good option in absence of legislation to enable us to do congestion charging, and that will be looked at, I think, when we come to doing our next budget. Instead of talking about corridors, we need to talk about spaces. This is car-centric thinking to talk about road corridors. These are places for people needing to do a whole lot of functions. And on the car front, I'm not actually saying we shouldn't have cars, but we need more car share schemes. We need no minimum car parking requirements. We can do that ourselves. We don't actually need central government to do that. And we need more electric cars because at least that is slightly more sustainable. And I don't want to see walking competing with cycling and PT. It's all part of the mix. It's all got many, many advantages. And I think with good conversation and good consensus, we can get there. So thank you very much. This is a subject I'm deeply passionate about, and I hope we can move the debate a bit further along.
We won't take any questions because it's Wellington and you'll go on for far too long. Jeff Simmons here.
Yes.
Great. We're now going to run out of time, of course, so we can keep everyone to about 5 minutes, otherwise we won't hear from the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people.
So I'll be brief.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. I don't need a microphone, eh?
He's from the Opportunity Party.
I'm plenty loud. Kia ora koutou. My name's Jeff, and thanks for that great speech, Iona. Fully agree with it. While I've got you sitting in front of me, can I please say get rid of those 2 car parks on Victoria Street? What the hell are they about? They're sacred. Here are the 2 sacred car parks. Yeah. Quite bizarre. If you haven't seen them, go and have a look. They're quite an odd situation for everyone, drivers and cyclists alike. I'm a committed cyclist and walker. Ever since I lived in the UK for 5 years, I came back vowing never to own a car again and wanting to live within a walkable distance to work. That has worked out for me, but not through planning. My work has actually moved closer to my house, so that was quite fortuitous, and now I can quite easily walk most days and cycle around Wellington. But I did grow up in Auckland, and that's why I'm so committed to a walking and cycling lifestyle, because I spent a good number of my teenage and early 20 years sitting in a car feeling like I was dying slowly. So yeah, in terms of the Opportunities Party policy on this, we take an evidence-based stance on all issues really, and on the transport one, it's a very simple question of where is the best return on investment. So we think that more decisions should be made on that basis, and it's incredibly likely that if that were the case, that we wouldn't be spending money on the RONs, as we've just seen yesterday with the business case that came out for the third main rail line in Auckland. That it's rail completely kicked ass over road, and I think if we did more good business cases like that. If we'd done a similar business case like that for Wellington, we might have got a similar result. Who knows? We don't know exactly, but let's do the work. Let's actually look at things on an apples basis, compare road and rail and public transport and private transport, and see what investment makes sense, and put it before the public. That's our key policy here. Another key policy to really work on differentiating what's different about the Opportunities Party is congestion charging. We are big believers in congestion charging, and in Auckland that means probably it means some sort of motorway toll, but here in Wellington it probably means Vivian Street. I am, if the business case worked out that 4 lanes to the plains made sense over public transport, I would back it, as long as the car people were paying the full cost of their activity. And that involves congestion charging, and I think once we go down that road, people are going to be very quickly pushed onto public transport, walking and cycling. One other big policy from us, which you might not think has a great relevance to walking on the first blush, is getting rid of tomorrow's schools. Now, I don't know if you guys are aware of the data on this, but tomorrow's schools has led to an incredible shift in where kids go to school, and has led to, in my view, this culture of, SUVs lining up around schools. It has damaged our education system, it's damaged our children, and it is damaging our transport system as well. So that's a big thing for us, is making sure that every local school is the school of choice. And that's going to be, it's not going to be an easy change to make, but it's something that certainly that we would like to see, and we think that will encourage a lot more going back to the days of walking to school, or in my case, running, as I used to do when I was a kid. So those are the big three things I wanted to say. Any questions while I still have time? Yes, Russell.
Can I talk about Karori, which
Yeah.
you may well know? The decision not to put a high school at the College of Education. What do you think about that? What would your party do?
With the land at Karori, which is now owned by the university, that's right. Yeah, I mean, well, this kind of relates to a broader point that I really probably should have made, in terms of, again, things that don't link to transport directly, but do. Urban design is a massive issue here, and a lot of the Opportunities Party's policies are designed to incentivise density, and not just allow density, incentivise density. So congestion charging is part of that, but our tax reform, and it's probably too complicated to explain to you right now, but our tax reform would be the biggest incentive for density that you could possibly imagine. So my answer with Karori would be, actually, to me that should be, prime medium density housing development. But if anyone had any better ideas, I'd be perfectly prepared to look at them and discuss them. Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff. Are we going to move on?
Can I just say, if anyone has any more questions or wants to engage, jeff@top.org.nz, GEOFF, email me, be in touch.
And not to miss out the government, the Honourable Tim McIndoe can't be here. He's the Associate Transport Minister, and he would like to state that the government considers walking a healthy and safe way to travel. Walking also supports a range of government outcomes, including tourism, safety and health, and the Minister is always interested in hearing about ways that we can encourage people to walk more. And he's passed on his apologies. So chat to the Minister, he'll sort it out.
But he didn't commit.
He's busy. In fact, I think Simon Bridges is busy opening the Waterview Shared Path.
Stage one.
Stage one, thank you, Patrick. It's a lovely spot, it's just like the 1% we got from the Waterview Tunnel. Walking Access Commission, Bridget Jenkins. Yes, great, you're up next.
I just put together a little presentation because I'm terrible with trying to order my thoughts otherwise.
Is that the one there?
Yeah,
Right, I'll sort that out.
thank you. It's very short.
Yeah,